What's up, everybody? It's your man, the Cowboy J.R. Storm, and my good buddy, J.K. Candell, and we're coming at you with another conference preview today. And J.K., today we are talking the Mountain West Conference.
We're going over to the good old Rocky Mountain, good old Mountain time zone. So kick back, sit with your Coors Lights, or don't, and let's dive right in.
Yes, sir, and no better way to start off than with the Boise State Broncos. What is it that stands out to you about this Boise State team?
Aside from their SimWorld U football squad, this Boise State team is pretty solid. I really like Carmelo Looper. Keyshawn Western isn't bad either, but Eric Banks, that kid can shoot the lights out. Really impressed by some of the talent on this roster, but I don't think that they're a team that's going to be at the top of this conference. I think they're going to struggle to keep up with a Gonzaga or even a UNLV. So I'm going to say they're probably like maybe a 15-win team.
Yeah, I could say that. I think, honestly, I'd almost go as far as saying 10 to 12. Because I like Eric Banks and Curtis London as well. It's just outside of that, a lot of unknowns for me.
Definitely. But reportedly, Blake Gillenwater been pretty good in practice for them, getting comparisons to Bob Hurley.
That is a very interesting comparison there. Now, moving on, we've got Colorado State. They bring in Rion Fugate as their only freshman. They also managed to bring in Javion Ireland. And this Colorado State team just looks very interesting to me, JK.
I'll look at that. I really like Jermaine Chappelle too. 7 foot 220. Absolute mauler down low. In SimWorld League basketball, you gotta have those big guys. Because when you're facing a team that has no size, that's the hill you're gonna die on. I love these teams with the physicality in their big men, and that's a good start for Colorado State. But I also have to talk about the guard play for this squad. There's a lot of guards that really intrigue me on this team, JR. You got Jazziel Wright-Johnson, you got Rion Fugate. This is a good team.
And they have size in that backcourt.
Exactly.
They have size, and I could... Sorry, go ahead, JK.
This is one of my two dark horses to win the conference.
I'd honestly say I'm right there with you. I think Colorado State could really make some noise and make some magic happen in the Mountain West.
Right up there with you.
And now we've got perennial Mountain West and national power, the Gonzaga Bulldogs. They return Caden Shipp, and they bring in Damian Luffy and some of the more underrated recruits from the entire SimWorld U recruiting cycle in Yavani Conwell and Musa Mashad, and also Aaron Wantong. I really like this Gonzaga team. I really like what they have across the board.
Me too. I think if Damian Luffy can kind of knock off the rust a little bit, be okay after his practice struggles, I think he'll iron it out. I think he'll be okay. I think he'll manage to be okay, JR. I really do like Caden Shipp. I think Caden Shipp is one of the 7 best players in all of SimWorld U. That's not particularly a bold take, though. I think this Gonzaga team is probably the favorite in this conference, and they should be.
Yeah, definitely. And Musa Mashad, kind of swinging back to Musa Mashad, I think he could honestly have a very good break. I think he could have a very much so a breakout season. He has the tools. He has the game. You know, his stats from prep level are not going to jump off the page at you, but he's got a very much all-around game for a guy that's 7'3". And that doesn't even mention, you've got a future lottery pick in Caden Shipp. And like you said, if Damian Luffy can kind of get things going, that will definitely help, I think, take some of the scoring load off of Caden Shipp. And also, you've got another future SWBA player in Yvonne Conwell. So
I really do like Yvonne Conwell. You keep taking the words out of my mouth, man.
So I definitely, at this point, go with Gonzaga as my favorite to win the Mountain West Conference.
Right there with you.
All right, now moving on to our next school, we have got the Nevada Wolfpack. Now, Nevada, 28-5 last season, defending Mountain West champions. I'm not sure I see them repeating, though, this year.
Me either. They lost a lot of talent, but there are some guys I like on the squad. Let's not get it twisted. Marcellus Blow, Eaton Hooker. They're a respectable roster, but saying they'll win 28 games and mark their way to Hoopsteria again is definitely a little bit rich, in my opinion. I would say maybe they can win 20 or more games, or maybe a little bit under that. I think making Hoopsteria is well within this team's potential, or well within their upside.
Right.
But I think that with how good some of the teams in this Mountain West Conference have gotten, I think Nevada, I should say, might be on the outside looking in.
Yeah, and I'd have to venture to agree with you on that one. And another thing is that, they bring in Aaron Miley, Pablo Montejo, and Luann G as their incoming freshman class. None of those guys I can really for sure say are going to be instant impact type of players. So a lot of unknown with that. So that's part of the reason for my hesitancy with them as well. And now, moving on, we've got New Mexico. Head coach Richard Pitino's bunch had a successful season last year, going 33-3. Had one of the best shooters in the country in SimWorld U in Ireland early. Amos Pulene, he returns. He's a very interesting player. What do you like about this New Mexico team?
From the obvious, I like that they got that extension done with Richard Pitino. He's back for the Lobos for 2 more years now. But like everybody else, I'm very high on Ireland early. I think the way he can shoot it at such a young age is so impressive. I think he is quickly rising up the list for best guards in all of SimWorld U. I think this team will go as far as wherever they take him, but I want to talk about the big men for this Lobo squad, because there is a lot of size and a lot of big man talent that I like on this squad. I really like Damari Gay. I like Taz Cooper. Really good facilitator at 6'8". The offense is probably going to run through him in Ireland early. I think that this team is a return to Hoopsteria is highly likely, and I wouldn't even be surprised if they make it all the way to the quad.
I think that possibility is definitely there. I think they more than likely do end up making Hoopsteria. Not quite ready to say bank on them making the quad just yet, but I will say, I think for this point in the show, them and Gonzaga, so New Mexico and Gonzaga, I think are two of my favorites to win the Mountain West, because I think New Mexico has the ability to have a legit chance at winning this conference.
I'll agree with that. For me right now, it's between Gonzaga and New Mexico. But the next team we're talking about is actually my biggest dark horse in this entire conference, and that's the St. Mary's Gales. Bring in Kai Newby, bring in Dime Hardaway, return Terrell Coulter. This is a talented roster, JR.
Yeah, and they went 26-11 this past year, and if you ask me, they honestly got better, I think. So I think this is definitely a 20-win team in my mind. Do they get to that 26 wins again? I'm not so sure. They do have a competitive non-conference schedule. Plus, the Mountain West is a lot tougher this season, in my opinion. So, 20 wins, I would think it's safe to bet on, but I'm not quite ready to say they match that total from last season. But
I think 23 is their magic number. Sorry to cut you off there.
No, you're good, and I think 23 is a realistic number as well. And if Kai Newby can step in right away and be a key contributor, I'd honestly go as far to say St. Mary's could match that win total. If not, potentially even crack 30.
I think so too. I was gonna say that their magic numbers are around the 25 mark for me, so it's very give or take if they can get to that number. But I thought Kai Newby was one of the more underrated players during his time with SimWorld Asia Pacific. They were so big man heavy with Leonardo Fields that people forgot about what Newby did for them on the offensive end, and I'm glad people are gonna start to realize that. And talk about Dime Hardaway. That's a kid who is so accurately named. And he was so crucial for the Bay Area Breakers. I really like to see both of those two team up. And I think Terrell Coulter, with that nasty pull-up game, I think that this team could be a top 5 seed come Hoops area.
Yeah, without question. And I really think they have one of the more underrated backcourts, not just in the Mountain West, but in all of SimWorld U. And so I definitely like their chances to win a lot of games this season. And now moving on, staying in California, we're going down to San Diego State. Longtime head coach Brian Dutcher, just a few seasons removed from a runner-up finish in the SimWorld U Championship game. I'm not so high on this team this season. I have to say, I'm not very high on them.
There are intriguing pieces. I like Lucina Traore. I like Jowd Platts. But outside of that, I'm also not super moved by what Jowd Platts is good at. He's a post scorer, but they play him at the 2. That's what he's best at. Outside of Traore, I'm not moved by this team at all. I think they're going to be at the bottom of this conference.
Yeah, I think it's definitely safe to say they will be at most middle of the pack. I think a lot of it hinges on what they'll get out of two guys, Mason Kellogg and Dre Ryder. I think those two are the X factors for this team. How Kellogg will perform being that big man down low, and I think Dre Ryder has the size and the versatility to potentially impact the game in a lot of different ways. So I think where they will finish this season will depend on those two players specifically.
I agree. I'm hesitant to say this team will even win 10 games with how good this conference is now, with how good their non-con schedule is. I'm fading San Diego State in every regard.
Yeah, same here. And now our next school, one of the more interesting and one of the top recruiting classes from this past recruiting cycle in all of SimWorld U, we've got UNLV, the Runnin' Rebels. Now, UNLV struggled last season, only winning 9 games. But I see them as potential contenders this season in the Mountain West.
I disagree with you.
Really?
I don't think that this team won 9 games last year. Jarrell Beauchamp hasn't even made his way to practice yet. I like Keontae Smythe. I like Sky Durant, but he's not even going to start as a freshman, apparently. He's behind Canyon Waring. This team was a 9-win roster for good reason last year. I don't think they're going to make Hoopsteria this year. I think that until Jarrell Beauchamp even reports for UNLV, my expectation is below 15 wins. Even if he does, I don't think that this team is as good as people are making it out to be. They're very young. They're inexperienced with that recruiting class. Next year, I might be a little higher on them, but this year, no shot.
Granted, I think I will agree that a lot of their success will depend on if Jarrell Bow can, on how Jarrell Beauchamp is able to perform. But I think defensively, with the addition of Keontae Smythe, you were getting he was one of the more underrated and underappreciated defenders in all of SimWorld Prep. And yes, they only won 9 games this season, but they returned several key pieces who I think, took their beatings last year, and I think are only going to get better this season. Montel Cage, Canyon Waring, 2 of the top names on that list, Nat Hawkins. If Jarrell Beauchamp can be an offensive force for them, I don't see any reason why this team wouldn't make Hoopsteria.
I disagree. I think that this team is a trap team. They're garnering a lot of early season buzz, and I think it's going to die down very quickly once the season actually starts.
We will definitely just have to wait and see. And to wrap up the show today, I figured, why don't we talk a little let's just say predict our top 4 in the Mountain West. What teams will finish in what order in the Mountain West? So
I'm gonna stick with Gonzaga at the 1.
Okay.
Colorado State second.
Really? Oh.
St. Mary's third.
Okay.
And that 4th squad, I forgot about New Mexico. I'm going to say Gonzaga, New Mexico, St. Mary's, Colorado State, in that order.
Okay, and me, I think Gonzaga, number 1. New Mexico, I see it number 2. And UNLV, I see them at number 3. And then at 4, I got to go with St. Mary's. I like what UNLV has. Even though they only won 9 games last season, I see a lot of improvement coming for them, especially if Jarrell Beauchamp can get it going.
Nah. I think Colorado State's better than them. I think Boise State might be better than them.
Whoa.
This team is overrated. What do you want me to say?
I can't go that far, man.
I'm not.
Boise
I don't believe
State?
that this team has any sort of legitimate championship aspiration just because of how inexperienced they are.
All right,
and I don't like how Jarrell Beauchamp's acting. So.
Okay, fair enough. All right,
I'm staying far away from that team. I don't like what I'm seeing culture-wise.
All right. Well, we'll just have to wait and see on that. And all right, y'all. This has been the J-Rock Show with the Cowboy J.R. Storm and J.K. Candell. J.K., thank you for being on again, my man. It's always a pleasure.
Anytime. Next episode, we are talking about the Pac-12 going over to the West Coast to look at one of the more intriguing conferences. Stay tuned for that.
Yeah, y'all stay tuned. Get in the comments in the thread section down below. Tell us what you think, what you're most looking forward to about the Mountain West or SimWorld U season in general. This has been J.R. Storm and J.K. Candell. Thank y'all for tuning in. And as always, SimWorld is the only place where you can see the game, be the game.